Hey everybody, it's Bert, Copple, and Tom Ray from Real Leadership Company, and this is session number 5 of our Mastermind group, Put Your Dream to the Test, where we are walking through John Maxwell's book, Put Your Dream to the Test, and today we're going to be looking at chapter 5, which is actually quite powerful, and I'm going to share my screen real fast so that everybody can see where we are actually at. And actually, it's right here. This is the Put Your Dream to the Test, Chapter 5. So you want to get those, you want to get that stuff out, get this handout out, this guide, so we can go through it together, and we're going to walk through it. Also, one thing I want to point your attention to today is this is the weekly dream activity tracker. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the weekly dream activity tracker, I'm going to blow it up a little bit. This is something that we've created because we're going to be talking about this week, about how it's so important to make sure that we are actually doing an activity per day, whether it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 4 hours, whatever you can dedicate to your dream. You want to make sure that you are putting using this week. So it's an 8.5 by 14 legal sheet. You want to do one activity for a day all the way through week 7. And the 2 questions at the bottom, 3 questions at the bottom are: number 1, did you work in your dream every day for the past week, even if for a few minutes, yes or no? And is your dream clearer today than it was a week ago? And if you answered no or yes, why not, or what needs to happen next? So next week, before we actually dive into chapter 6, we're going to spend a few minutes going through this to hold each other accountable to see, are we doing those things that we said we needed to do to make it work? So let's make sure we're working on that this week. So having said that, we want to dive into week number 5. But before we do, we always do an attitude of gratitude, right? We talk about what we're thankful for this past week. So Tom, why don't you kick us off and tell us, what are you thankful for this week?
Well, my wife has dealt with severe extreme vertigo yesterday, and just a mess. I got her home last night after midnight from the hospital even, and she's been sleeping soundly. And so I'm thankful that she is recovering from that severe, extreme vertigo.
Great. That's awesome. Who else wants to go? Keith, what are you thankful for this week?
Susanna's working from home now, so both of us are here. I'm thankful we're still good. We still talk to each other. We still love each other. Everything is good. She kicked me out one time last week and said, "Why don't you just go away?" It's like, okay, I'm out of here.
Nice.
So everything's well.
Good. Keith still has a place to live. That's fantastic. Dave, how about you? What are you thankful for this week? Dave, you're on mute, brother.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
There you
now?
go. Yep, now we can.
Awesome. Sorry. I am so thankful for Zoom. I just got off a 2
Up.
Still
Sorry,
muted?
Dave. No, go ahead.
You didn't want to hear me. Okay.
That was it. No, go ahead. You're thankful for Zoom.
It still says I'm muted.
No, we can hear you, Dave. You're fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got off a 2-hour meeting with some guys I've been meeting with every Saturday morning for probably 10 years. And if it wasn't for Zoom, I wouldn't be able to do that. Wouldn't be able to meet with you guys. So this is, I'm just thankful for that technology.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Carrie, how about you? What are you thankful for today?
I'm also thankful for my Aunt Gina being okay, because I was really worried about her. So
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Denise, how about you? What are you thankful for?
I am thankful for, I connected with my small group, which now Keith is a part of. So that was good. And I'm going to be, I'm just really excited to be able to cook dinner for my husband again, because it's a long story, but I just moved back into my condo and everything's awesome.
Good. Well, very cool. Well, excellent. I'm thankful this week. I know this is going to may sound crazy, but I'm actually thankful for the Small Business Administration. I know the federal government, they put out the regulations for the payroll protection program and the emergency disaster loan and all that good stuff. But I just got to tell you, I can't even imagine what it must be like to be working for a group like that. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of applications for funding. I can't even imagine the pressure that's on those individuals. There's, probably maybe 5,000 people max who are working through all those loans. And we finally got approved for our PPP loan this past week, which is going to make a huge difference for our business to allow us to keep our 200 employees fully paid and engaged and working. So we're really excited for that. So I'm thankful for that this week. So let's all dive in. Let's dive into week number 5 of putting your dream to the test. Let's do chapter 5. Let's start there. Unless Tom, I apologize. I'm not quite sure I understand what you're asking me with your question there. You say page 28. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that with the next part that when you're going to be talking?
Yeah, when I speak.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so chapter number 5, we're going to dive into this, or we're going to start there. So let's take a look at that and make sure that we're all on the same page. Chapter number 5, do I have a strategy to reach my dream? Securing your dream requires a plan. So the question that we have for you guys today to get this thing started is, are you ready? Are you ready to do this? What do you have to do in order to begin your journey to the fulfillment of your dream? And that's one reason why we included the weekly activity planner, right? That's one reason why we put this together for you guys, is to begin working through this process. So again, want to ask everybody, are you ready? What do you need to do? What do you need to begin this journey towards the fulfillment of your dreams? So why don't you guys go ahead and just get started? Tell us, what are you doing? What do you have to do to begin the journey for the fulfillment of your dream? Who wants to start?
I do.
Go for it, Denise.
So I'm a health coach, and my business has been on the back burner for a long time, and I want to get it going again because it's a really big passion of mine. And so I connected with this studio, Reforming Foundations, and before the quarantine, we were launching a program in April, a 6-month program where I was set to make quite a bit of money and do health coaching sessions at her studio, but the virus happened. But now I have time to refine all my modules and be ready to go. So that's what I'm trying to work on, to be prepared, even though they're going to be flexible, but I'm going to pick topics and motivations and everything and just have these modules ready to go. So I need to work on that every day.
That's awesome. Very cool. That's a very, very specific, tangible things. Who else? What do you need to do to start working on the journey to fulfill your dream?
Well, I've got like 5 different areas that I've set up working with Tom, and we went through one of them. My first one was total overall health, and we started that started that last week with Tom's help, getting everything organized, plans, strategies, step by step. And I'm finding out as you go through it, you might have to change some things, do a different schedule or something like that. So that's where I'm at on that now. And then I've got to work on getting the steps down for my other 4 aspects of life, family and business and stuff. But I started with my health first because that's most important to me right now.
That's awesome. And I think it's important, Keith, like you just said, that it's important to know what's number one for you. It has to be most important to you. And if it's not important to you, then it's not going to matter to anybody else. So having a place you want to start is really good. That's awesome. Dave, David, Carrie, anybody else want to share right now what you think you need to do to begin your journey?
Well, this week I started working on budgeting and planning for costs.
That's awesome.
I got some quotes down, and I'm starting to put together a inventory and a list of things I need and what my budget's gonna be.
That's awesome. And I know, Carrie, last week you were saying a little bit how maybe it can feel a little overwhelming when you're at the start and you don't know what it's going to look like at the finish. So is it starting to unpack a little bit for you now that you're starting to get all these different pieces in place? Is it becoming more manageable?
I'm definitely feeling a little better about it, and I'm feeling
Awesome.
like, okay, I have a direction and I know where I'm going.
That is fantastic. Great. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, I actually decided what I was going to start doing, and I've decided I'm going to go for my CPA.
That's awesome, Dave.
Yeah.
Congrats. It's huge.
Yeah, I've been working in finance for a long time. I've got been on church boards and other things, but now I've decided to actually go for the certification. So
That is fantastic. So Dave, what are the steps? What do you need to do to start the process? Not the end, but what's the first step for you?
well, the first thing is I know that the requirements have changed over the last couple of years. So I've just got to go in and just the first step is to look into exactly what the requirements are,
Right.
both for education, testing, work experience, those things, and then start putting those things in motion. I'm sure I've got the work experience requirement, but the testing and some of the education requirements, I might stay up base has some shortfalls.
That's great. That's awesome, Dave. Congratulations. David, anything new for you on what you're working on?
Unfortunately, no. I'm actually still kind of stuck in trying to, I don't know, find a motivation. I have some vision, but I'm just having trouble getting any momentum, getting any drive behind it.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm stuck.
That's okay. And thanks for sharing and being honest, man. And we hope that this week is going to help make a big difference. And once again, I just want to show this to you guys one more time before we dive into the bullet points. So again, if we go to this page, this is the Weekly Dream Activity Tracker. And this is a PDF that we've created through Unstuck University that we want all of you guys to work on filling out this week. And it starts today. Today is day 1. And so what this means is that you're going to be spending a little bit of time each day working on your dream. Okay. And that could be right now, we're spending an hour and a half working on our dream today. So day 1 is already checked off for you if you want to go that route. So you want to put down what activity did you do for this day and what was the outcome or the results of what you put into your time and effort this week. And you're going to go through this every single day. And the next Saturday, we're going to hold each other accountable, and we're going to look at this. And I'm going to have my sheet. I'm going to hold it up, or I'm going to share it on the screen. We want you guys to do the exact same thing. 7 days of putting forth 15 to 90 minutes of effort every single day. So that you should do that. And then one thing to remember too is just to keep this in mind. If you don't know, maybe David, this is where you're at right now. Don't be afraid to consider coaching. And this is something that Tom and I do on a regular basis with people. So if you need some additional help with coaching, obviously these sessions are free. Coaching does cost a little bit, but it's not that expensive. Reach out to us and we can help you to help hold you accountable to walk you through this. So if you want to have that opportunity, make sure you take a chance on that. We can talk about more of that as well. You can also find this page is also available on our website, realleadershipcompany.com. You can download the PDF right from the website or from the chat today. So let's kind of start walking through our guide. We're going to look at number 1. Okay. So number 1 says, first of all, Mary Webb says, saddle your dreams before you ride them, right? That makes so much sense. If you've ever ridden a horse bareback, man, it is not easy. Done it once and fell off almost immediately. But when you put a saddle on, all of a sudden you can ride the horse, right? Which is important. So number 1 says, state all of your positions. State all of your positions, okay? And your journey begins by evaluating where you are. Your journey begins by evaluating where you are. I know in the book, Maxwell quotes Jack Welch from GE, and he says the very first thing you need to do when you're setting off on your dreams is to first and foremost know where you are right now. Okay, so describe the place where you are right now. We kind of already did that a little bit, right? So Denise described where she's at with developing her business, and Keith described where he's at when it comes to engaging coaching for personal health. Dave decided, hey, I want to become a CPA. That is awesome that he did that. Carrie is working through a class right now to develop a business. And so by working through that class, she's starting to lay that out. And David said, look, I know where I want to go, but I don't know what to do. I don't have maybe the motivation to do it, or I don't know what to grab onto to make that happen. You guys have all described the place where you're at right now. And for the sake of the exercise, this week I shared with you guys a couple weeks ago that I've had a dream of opening up a restaurant. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to open the restaurant right now. I'm still trying to get my business through this COVID-19 experience that we're all going through. But I'm going to start doing my dream, my 7 days of what I want to accomplish to work on that. So I'm going to put 7 days of working on that restaurant over the next 7 days. But here's the next question about the dreaming portion that's important. What will my dream look like when I have achieved it? What will my dream look like when I have achieved it? So why don't you guys talk about that for a minute? What is your dream going to look like when you've actually achieved it? It's time for a minute to believe in the beauty of your dreams. Let's go through the group and talk about what is it going to look like once you've actually achieved your dream. Who wants to start?
I will. So my body chemicals are pretty good. My sugar's pretty much in control. I'm not taking hardly any medications, but I'm taking a lot of supplements. So I'm pretty darn healthy inside. My goal is to get down to 195, I think, by July 11th. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start doing this, 1 pound a week can be there. The result is I'm going to be able to put my socks on and not really have a problem. I can bend over and sitting down, putting them on. And I think looking a lot better and not like you got a beach ball underneath your shirt is going to help self-esteem quite a bit. So I'm looking to do that, to be more fit, to be able to play with the kids and run for a while without dying.
Right. And Keith, why is your personal health, why is that important to achieving your dreams? And obviously, when we started about this, we were talking about business, but are you telling us now that you're really shifting your priority, which is totally fine. You're shifting your priorities. Your dream right now requires you to be physically healthy and in shape that's the short-term goal to the long-term dream. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yes. Yeah. Because if I don't have my health, I'm not going to be any good to anybody, my family or the business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very cool. Who else wants to share?
I just think, getting the CPA isn't just about getting the letters or the paper, but it's about, getting additional, people at work, having more input into decisions at work because of respect or whatever it might be that might go with that. But it's also the additional knowledge that I'm going to gain through the process. When I went to grad school, I had no idea how much I didn't know about finance. And so I'm sure that'll happen, as I continue on this process.
That's awesome. Great.
I have done health coaching before full time, and I know what it looks like, and I want to get there again. Because when I am doing something that I'm passionate about, the whole rest of the world goes away, including all the troubles, and my focus is just so strong, and I feel great, and it keeps me accountable to my own health goals too, because I can't be a health coach if I'm eating a pound of chocolate a day. So it just helps me stay in line too. And the energy I have bouncing out of bed in the morning, I'm going to get there.
That's a really good point, right? I mean, that's important to have that credibility. I'll never forget when I was in the military, after having my third reconstructive surgery on my ankle during my 4th year in the military, I'd put on some pounds, and I wasn't proud of it, especially being in the military. And I'll never forget, I sat down with this health coach, and this woman that was sitting across from me, she was a chain smoker. She was drinking coffee right in front of me during the meeting, and she was clearly overweight, and she was giving me advice on how to get back in shape. And I just remember sitting there laughing, like, I'm not going to believe a word you say, because it just didn't make any sense. So that's fantastic, Denise. That's really good. Thanks for sharing that. Who else wants to share?
That's a difficult question for me to answer, because I think I have really focused on a medium for accomplishing my dream, but I haven't really dialed in my dream, which I think is part of the reason I'm struggling with the motivation. I know what I want to do to make it happen, but I'm having trouble making it tangible, making the dream tangible.
So Dave, I mean, we have time. So and we're part of, this is a group where we want to help each other out. So walk through that a little bit. Why are you having difficulty making this tangible?
I don't know. I think think I just have trouble believing that I'm capable in that. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to.
So it's belief in self and belief in the dream, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And again, David, I just want to encourage you, man. Tom and I are also available outside of these meetings too to help out, but that's important. I mean, I love the fact, first of all, that you're being vulnerable and you're admitting that those are the challenges, because if you're not vulnerable, you can't help yourself and other people can't help you.
Right.
And that's important. And we know that based upon past discussions going through this, that these are some of the issues that you deal with, that you've dealt with. And so we want to do whatever we can to help you out. So I appreciate you're being vulnerable with us. And we're going to circle back. There's more questions we're going to get to in this session that will help with that. Carrie, anything else you want? Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
If I can dive in real quick,
Yeah.
David, I think that you're speaking for a lot of people who feel the same way you do. So you're not the only one in that boat.
Right.
A lot of people, feel like they're in a wilderness, so to speak. And don't know quite what steps to take next. And so, but being here, this is a great place to grow that. And thank you for putting the step out to be here with us to explore. So thanks for being a part. Thanks to everyone for being a part. This is great.
Absolutely. So I want you guys we talked a little bit about where we are now. And we talked a little bit about what that dream looks like. What are we going to look like when we get to the end of it, right? So what steps do we need to take to go from where I am to where I need to be? So Keith, just to reiterate, and I'm going to let you do the reiteration, each one of you, but you already mentioned, the steps you need to take to get to that next level. So reiterate to us and verbalize what you need to do to get healthy. What are you doing?
Exercise is a key thing. Walking, and I don't mean going to a gym, thinking that, but walking, the treadmill, push-ups, eating healthy, not eating after 6 o'clock. That's pretty much that would give me a heck of a start there.
That's awesome. That's great. Dave, Travis, what are the next immediate steps that you need to do to start working on your CPA? And again, you've alluded to it, but remember, the more you talk about it, the more you state your goals and your objectives, the more you lay the steps out, the more you actually begin to believe what's coming out of your mouth. So repeat to us again, Dave, Travis, what is it you need to do to start working on getting or obtaining that CPA?
The first thing I need to do is go to the state's website, and I decided I'm going to do that today to just document what the actual requirements are.
Yep.
Next, then I'm going to do this week too, is I'm going to contact HR to find out what the tuition reimbursement benefits are, so that see how much the company will pay, towards whatever education requirements are.
Awesome. And do you know how many credits away you are, or what you need? I mean,
I have not a clue.
Not a clue. Okay. So that would be something else to look into as well.
Exactly. Because I don't know how much of because my undergrad's in engineering, not in finance. I'm not sure how much of my grad school will cover the education requirements. So I've got to look into that.
Okay. Denise, how about you? You've stated the dream. So what are the specific steps? Repeat them again for us, what you need to start doing.
So I do need to work on those modules, but there's something else that would really help me. I worked with a lot of global companies for health sessions, and I started to reach out to several of them. So I'm going to keep on doing that, because after this is all over, I could have things set up for the future. So I'm going to keep calling and contacting the people, because when people get back to work, they're going to need health coaching.
Absolutely. You better believe it. That's right.
Hey, Keith, you and I can work together.
There you go.
Okay.
That's awesome. David, Carrie, anything else you guys want to add right now about specific steps? I know Carrie said that she was on a phone call as well. So either one of you guys have anything else to add? If not, that's okay. But we just want to give you the chance to speak life to it.
Well, it occurs to me that, I've done a lot of work, like I said, looking into the medium of getting to my dream. But I need to spend a lot more time fleshing out what does my dream really look like in very fine detail.
Yep.
And then challenge myself as to why is it I think that I can't accomplish that? Why is it, what is it about that challenge my emotion with some logic. I mean, maybe that's not the ultimate answer, but I think that would be a good step forward.
And you remember, I'm sorry, Carrie, was there anything else you wanted to add to? I'm not sure if you're back yet. Okay. So one thing too, David, that I just want to take a moment to speak some life here to you, but to the entire group as well. Remember, a lot of times when we begin a dream sequence, we have to envision ourselves in that dream. And sometimes we have to begin speaking to ourselves as if we've already achieved that dream, right? And so, we know that part of your vision, part of your dream is to go into ministry to do that. And I just want to encourage you. There was a time, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was so bent on going into full-time ministry. Seriously, I said, God, I know you've called me into ministry. I'm going to go into full-time ministry. I started taking classes through Liberty University. I earned my master's in divinity, which is like getting an entire bachelor's all over again. It's like 92 credits to get an MDiv. So I have an MA in theology and MDiv in Christian leadership, and I was ready to go into full-time ministry. And I said, God, this is what I'm going to do. And you know what God did? He shut every single door to go into full-time ministry. Because what he showed me is that in my day-to-day job, my work in home care, he said, you have a congregation. You have 180 caregivers that are caring for the sick and the widow every single day. You don't need a pulpit. You have a company to minister to these people, and you have clients who are sick, and you have clients who are widows, and you have staff members that you can speak life to. And the Holy Spirit began to show me and really begin to shake up in my life that you don't need to have a pulpit to be in full-time ministry. I'm doing full-time ministry every single day when I'm at work. And when I realized that that was my true calling, that God was showing that to me, then he opened up the doors for me to start serving in churches. And now I'm an executive pastor for a church. I don't get paid. I'm an executive pastor at a small inner city church in Warren. And I love what I do. And I know that I get to support a senior pastor in his full-time role. But I want to encourage you, David, that you are doing ministry every single day that you're at work. Every single day that you're at work. So when you hear those whisperings in the back of your head that says you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to do this, dude, you're already doing it every single day. In your role, in your leadership role, you are already doing ministry. And so remember that, because if you can embrace that in those little bit of steps to be more intentional with those moments of ministry opportunities with the people that you have influence with, right? I love the prayer of Jabez, right? Jabez said, Lord, expand my territory for you. But notice what he didn't say. He didn't say expand my territory and take me to a new country, or expand my territory and lead me to a new job. He said expand my territory for you right here, right now where I'm at. He can do that with you right now. And if you can learn and be faithful in the moments that you're in right now, he can do exceedingly more and abundantly than you can ever imagine possible. So I just want to encourage you to remember that even though the dream is to go to the next level of ministry where that is, there's nothing that stops you from doing full-time ministry in your role right now, because you have the awesome authority and ability of where you've been placed to begin practicing what you're doing. I'm going to tell you, when you do start taking those classes for ministry, when you do start taking those classes for counseling or whatever the case may be, you already have a practice field. You already have a congregation where you're going to be able to practice those things. And don't lose sight of that, man, because that's a powerful opportunity to do more than you potentially ever could in a church. And that's what I've learned in my role with my caregivers and my employees and my clients. So just keep that in mind. When I say that to you, David, what does that feel to you? What does that stir up in you?
It's interesting. I was debating about whether to share this or not, but you opened the door. So I've been doing some praying and fasting, actually, trying to figure some of this out, and or be spoken to about some of this, shall we say. And one of the things that God has communicated to me is that I need to, what I'm worried about is doing something of significance for him.
Mm.
And what I've keyed into the fact is that wanting to be significant or do something significant is largely about me. It's not about him.
Mm.
And that I need to be faithful and significant in doing the insignificant. Um, in other words, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah.
to the rest of you, okay. Yeah. So I need to focus on just basically just exactly what you're saying. It isn't insignificant. It means I need to change my focus and my outlook on what I'm doing. That what I'm doing already is significant.
Absolutely.
And I need to, I need to adopt that mindset first. It may be that God has something bigger and different or additional for me to do, but I need to get my head and my heart around what I'm already doing before he can even think about allowing me to do that.
Absolutely. And Tom, I'm going to throw this to you because I know you're going to go into number 2, but there's something that you're really good at doing, Tom, and this applies to everybody that's here. And sometimes it's those daily affirmations, right? Daily affirmations of things that we need to repeat to ourselves. So can you talk a little bit, Tom, about some of the things that you've done in your life with daily affirmations and then lead into the discussion on number 2?
Well, sure. And I can reference a story even. My wife was dealing with some severe anxiety. and so I had encouraged her because I felt basically useless to help her because this was an internal thing that she was facing and there was nothing I could do externally to help her. But I encouraged her to begin to post some affirmations on the wall. In fact, some scriptures on the wall. And then a few months later, I ended up writing a song for her, and she recorded that song. It's called "I Am Not Afraid." It's available everywhere. But I am not afraid. So the second chorus is what really blesses me, in that it says, "Scriptures on the wall remind me who I am. When I start to fall, you take me by the hand, and suddenly you're there." I won't be afraid of today. God's angels are covering me. I know that he cares. I'm not afraid. I won't be afraid of tomorrow. My God is already there. I am not afraid. So just some powerful words of affirmation to speak over ourselves, to say, that I'm going to succeed. I'm going to be successful, even though we don't quite see it right now. There's a statement that says you're somewhere in the future and you look a lot better than you do right now, right? And so you may not look like you want to look right now. Your situation may not look the way it should right now. But as Bert was just asking a moment ago, how do you see it? How do you see your dream at the end? And begin to speak to that. Begin to think of this, that you are sowing faith seeds, or think of rain clouds, okay? And you're sowing those seeds in those rain clouds that's going to produce rain in the future. And when I'm talking about rain, I'm talking about success and blessings and things of that nature. So be speaking to yourself and encouraging yourself that you are going to be successful, that you are going to make it. Because here's a statement that says, if you think you can't or you think you can, you're right. Right? So you have to believe that you can. Okay? For those of us with faith, we believe that the word says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. In fact, that's just behind me on the wall there, isn't it? Anyway, we need to believe that there's nothing that is impossible for us, and just begin to set ourselves up for success. In this day and age that we're in right now, this time that we're in with the quarantine and everything, we see a lot of negativity around us. And perhaps the news or other folks, are griping about the government or any number of things, and we're surrounded by negativity. But we got to find ourselves in a place that's going to speak positive in our life. and is going to encourage us, is going to help us to be encouraging to others, because we can find ourselves very quickly going on the side of negativity, right? Because we point at, well, I'm not smart enough, I'm overweight, I'm this, that, and the other, and then we put these negative statements on ourselves. But we need to be speaking statements, even though they're not current, we need to be speaking them as though they are, and believing that that one day this is going to come to pass. And like Keith here, he's got a roadmap. He's got a plan in place to begin to see his dream come to pass. And we've got to all have that as well. We've got to have the steps in place. And one way we can do that is the words of affirmation. I hope that is helpful to everyone.
Can I say something here, or is this off top? May I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Bert, you were saying something about look at yourself in the future, and you're saying about affirmations. And I know a little bit about neuroplasticity. And when you look into the future and you talk yourself through what you want yourself to look like in the future, and you close your eyes and you use all your senses, your smell, your taste, who's in the room, what you're saying, and visualize your success, your brain changes. Your brain changes from a track of fear and anxiety or being stuck to being more flexible and more pliable. And if you put your pants on with your right leg first, do it with the left leg, do things differently, and your brain starts to change. Like, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And it helps people that have had strokes. Your brain can get stuck, and that's possibly why you might be stuck. So I'm just throwing that out there.
That's great, Denise.
Yeah, really good.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay, Bert, if it's okay, I'll take off with number 2. You ready? Okay. So number 2 here on page 30, there's a quote here by Richard Evans that says, everyone who got where they are had to begin where they were. John Maxwell makes the statement that a lot of people want to be where I am and want what I have, but they've not done what I've done to get there, right? And so many times we want to be on the other side. We want to be in the middle or at the end of our dream, right? We want to see that dream come to pass, and we want it to happen today, right now, at this moment. And but we've got to take the steps to get there. And some people are looking at our lives, and some people see that we're much farther ahead than they are. And that's the case in all walks of life. People will think that you are farther ahead than they are. And they want to be where you are. And they think that just a couple of clicks of the switch and it's just going to happen. But it takes time to get there. And that's why it's so important that we are consistent in everything that we do, consistent in the good things, and we are intentional. And we continue to do the things that lead us to where we want to go. Again, saving a penny a day is not that much money. But if you continue to do it, eventually it'll mount up to something worth having. A long time, might add, but still, you get the point. It's and again, back to that story that Bert shared about the 20 miles a day versus run ragged all day long. It's that 20 miles a day and that journey, right? That's what's going to make the difference. So number 2 here is examine all your actions. Examine all your actions. Actions that you do every day are the determining factor in achieving your goals. Okay, so ask yourself these following questions. Number 1, what actions am I doing daily that are distracting me from my dream? perhaps it's negative thinking.
I'm playing too much solitaire.
It's good.
House party over here.
House party.
Yeah. And some of those things that you guys are talking about, those can also be healthy distractions from what
Yes.
we're going through, without a doubt. So we're not saying you can't play solitaire, you can't do house party with friends and family, because we need that. But what are, like Tom said, what are the distractions?
That's what I was just going to say is, there's 100 things around here that I can do and do that are good things that anybody would look at and go, oh yeah, you're doing that. That's good. That's, you're not being lazy. You're not sitting around doing nothing. But what it's doing is it's insulating me from facing the difficult things that I don't want to face. Like dialing in my dream and figuring out what's going on me on the inside that's holding me up. Because if I don't have to deal with that, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't, you know what I mean? And I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not doing all the addiction things, but I'm hiding from it in things that are packaged nicely.
It's very powerful, David. It's, we shouldn't be busy just to be busy, right? Because as you said, David, it distracts us from what's important, right? Or gives us an excuse not to do what we need to be doing to see our dream come true. One other question here before I take you into another part, but it says, what actions am I doing daily that are bringing me closer to my dream?
One of the things we're doing is being on this call.
That's good. Anybody else?
And I just finished my
Just collecting some more information about different health topics and putting them into files just in case I need them. So I'm kind of getting a new information ready.
Good.
But solitaire in between.
That's really good. John Maxwell talks about us always preparing ourselves for the opportunities that come. All of us have experienced a moment where an opportunity presented itself, but we were not ready. And so how can we get ready? Right? And David, if you're talking about ministering, you could begin preparing sermons or begin to prepare messages, even though that you're not preaching or even though you're not speaking. You can begin to prepare those things right now instead of waiting for that time to come. And a lot of us wait for that time to come, and then we have to prepare, and then there's all that stress and anxiety and the fact that we're not ready. We're encouraged to be instant in season and out of season, right? So we need to be ready at all cases for what it is that we want to do. So if someone comes to us and says, hey, what is your dream? If we don't have an answer for that or cannot explain our dream in just a few statements, then we need to start preparing that. So this is your time right now for us to encourage you to begin to work on the description of your dream, what your dream is, or what are you passionate about. And, I heard this speech yesterday by Simon Sinek about finding our why. See, there's a lot of companies out there that are doing things, but a lot of times we will buy into something because we believe in their why, right?
Right.
And so you want people to believe in your why. Why do you do what you do? Man, for me, I love leadership. I love helping people. And hopefully that's evident to you guys and those in my sphere of influence. But, it's a passion of mine. I love doing it. And so, I would do it getting paid or not getting paid because it's what I love to do. And I'm passionate about it. And so I hope that encourages all of you today to be forward thinking, to begin to see yourself in your dream and begin to prepare yourself for the opportunities that come. Because once the opportunities come, it's too late to prepare, right? So, so there you go. So, anybody else on that question?
Go ahead, Tom.
Again, what am I doing daily to bring me closer to my dream? Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I was going to go back to you've got different dreams of different aspects of your life, of financial, faith, family, business, personal. Could that be all, and I think it can be all incorporated into like a personal mission statement that covers everything. And that could be part of your daily affirmations. That just
Absolutely.
hit me.
Absolutely. I think that if you have, Keith, I think you've hit a really, really strong point here. I think if you have a mission statement for even your own life or your business, then you won't color outside the lines. You won't look at an opportunity that comes up and then you say, well, okay, I'm going to do that. But you know what? It doesn't match with my mission statement.
Right.
It doesn't go along with my mission statement. So I might have to let that go. Even though it's a great opportunity, it may not be the right opportunity for me because it takes me off course for what my dream is or for what my goal is. And because there's so many opportunities out there, there's so many distractions, it might be a better word, that come before us. And we could be running and chasing after all these things, but if we don't have that mission statement in place to say, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is the lane I'm going to stay in. And that's very powerful, Keith. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else before I switch gears just for a second?
You know, I don't know if, and again, I'm not sure if Carrie's back with us right now, Tom, but just to add on to this, sometimes, like, for example, if you are wanting to do something that's going to require you to acquire new knowledge or develop new pathways of thinking, like Denise alluded to, sometimes you have to go outside of yourself. You can't Google everything, right? You can Google information, but information does not alter thoughts and beliefs, which then impacts your actions, which can impact results. So, you know, Carrie, for example, decides she wants to open up her own business, but she didn't know the pathways to make that happen. So what did Carrie do? She signed up for a class, which required her to go to class, which is requiring her to have that, the new thought processes being developed within her mind. And she's having to think about things like she never would have thought about before. So, or Dave knows if he wants to become a CPA, well, you have to go through formal learning to become a CPA. You can't just, boom, I'm a CPA. So there's a lot of things that you can do to put structure around who you are to keep you focused. Like Tom said, the mission statement becomes the boundary. And sometimes those boundaries are really important because if we don't give ourselves permission to say no to other things, that means we start saying yes to everything. And when we do that, our mission and dream no longer exist. I shared a story, and again, forgive me for sharing stories, but stories are powerful. They allow us to retain information. I did a video series last summer on suckers. And when I say suckers, I mean the offshoots that grow on tomato plants, right? And if anybody here has ever done any type of gardening, I love to grow tomatoes. But the key about growing tomatoes is that you want to make sure that you continue to cut off those suckers. Suckers are the little offshoots that grow in between tomato, the vines that come off tomatoes. And if you don't grow those off, if you don't snip those, it can actually be detrimental to the health and growth of your tomato plants. Because a tomato plant can only dedicate so many resources, nutrients and water and whatever the case is, to grow those tomatoes off the vines that they grow off of. But if you allow all of these different suckers to keep growing on your off your tomato plants, they take resources away from the tomatoes that you're trying to grow. So you literally have to be snipping off those suckers as the tomato plant is growing to put all of the nutrients and all of the energy into the tomatoes you're trying to grow. And the same goes with life. We have to say no to suckers. We have to say no to those things that go outside of the boundary of our mission statement or our dreams, because if we don't, they're going to suck up resources and time that don't allow us to fully fulfill what we're trying to accomplish. So, think about that as we get into gardening season, as you're out there weeding, or as you're out there cutting those suckers off your tomato plants. You have to do the exact same thing with your dream and with your mission statement, because if you don't, you're going to be expending resources and time and talent to things that really don't need them, especially if you're trying to stay focused on what you're trying to accomplish.
That's really good, Bert. Thank you. So I wanted to turn our attention just for a second to page 28. We didn't cover this last week. And so I wanted to cover this really quick because I think this will help, get us focused in on what it is that we're supposed to do. Page 28, the application to the passion question. You got that, Bert? Can you bring that up?
There you go.
So let's look at this for a quick second. So how you rate yourself on how you're doing as far as your passion for your dream. And so the questions to answer in your journal are this: in what areas of your life do you display the emotion initiative? If you could spend the rest of your life doing one thing, what would it be? These are powerful questions that ask you about finding your passion for what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that what I want to focus in on is the 5th question. What issues or causes always fire you up? And that I think will be a question for all of us right now. Let's talk about that question. What issues or causes always fire you up?
I like to help people, so whatever that looks like. I think that's why I love health coaching. And when somebody has a baby, I cook them a meal. When somebody's in the hospital, I cook their family a meal. I like to nurture people with food and help people.
Thank you. That's great. Anybody else?
It doesn't fit with my dream, at least not directly, but whenever I'm doing anything with ministry, it fires me up. That's I lead a Bible study on Wednesday nights, and preparing for it and sharing on that stuff is what gets me pumped.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Just thought it was funny because I also lead a Bible study on Wednesday night. Kind of made me chuckle there, but anytime I see somebody hurting, whether it's emotionally or struggling somehow, it's my nature to want to try to rescue or guide or coach or help or something. I get wound up about that.
That's good.
I was thinking originally, but it was a negative thing. It's like, you don't want to talk about that. But when Dave said the Bible studies, I love teaching people. I love walking them through whatever theological thing they're looking at, just to open up more avenues for them to think about other things. That is my absolute passion. I love doing that.
That's great. All great answers. And they're the right answers for all of you, right? Anybody else before we move on? You see, when we find what gives us passion, all right, and maybe for some kids it might be playing video games, but when we find our passion, it's usually connected to, in some form or fashion, to what it is that we're called to do, right? There's some connection in that. And at least it's a good place for those who don't have a dream to answer this one question: what always fires me up? What gets me excited? Right? What makes me excited to get up the next morning? Is it that trip to Cedar Point, to the amusement park? What is it that makes me excited on a regular basis? And that's what we need to be focusing on. And then there's one other question through this. Hi, babe. How you doing?
Good.
Feeling okay? Good.
Hey, Gina.
Everyone said hello.
Hi.
She said hi. One of the other questions here, or two of them, I just want to point them out real quick. And one is near to the bottom there. Do you need to adjust or fine tune your dream so that your passion and purpose and dream are aligned? Right? We need to adjust or fine tune our dream so that your passion and purpose and dream are aligned. Do you see that near the bottom there? Yeah, thank you, Bert. And then if those of you who have heard that question agree that there needs to be some adjusting or fine tuning, then let's go to the last one there. It says, if you believe you need to make changes, what will it take for you to make them? And Bert, I'm going to hand this back over to you after this.
These are very thought-provoking questions, Tom.
That's the purpose of today. See, think about this. This is silly, but think about this for a second. You can make the statement, I really love ice cream, right? Ice cream is amazing. I love how it feels going down my throat. And we can talk about all the benefits of eating ice cream. But unless we're willing to get up off of our couch and go and get the ice cream, we will never experience all those things that we wanted to experience. So, and to be honest with you, we'll get up and find the ice cream before we'll get up and follow through with our passion or our dream, won't we? So we've got to discipline ourselves. I know we hate that word discipline, but we have to discipline ourselves in going after what is important for our lives. And listen, guys, we have an opportunity here to make a difference in our lives. We have an opportunity to make our dreams come true. One thing's for sure, if we sit and do nothing, that's what we're going to get. But if we're willing to take a chance, and again, that statement from John Maxwell says, jump and build your wings on the way down. Jump and build your wings on the way down. And here's another expression: do it afraid.
Yeah.
Do it afraid. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. We can picture it, but we don't know what the outcome's going to be. But you know what? That's what failing forward is all about.
Yep.
Right? Just taking the steps. We don't know what's on the other side. I get that picture of the Indiana Jones when he had to take that step of faith, and he stepped into what he thought was nothing and found that there was an actual path there. So we need to be willing to take the steps and take the risks necessary to see our dreams come true. Bert?
And number 3 says, consider all of your options. Consider all of your options. And guys, because of time, I'm not going to spend a whole lot on this section, but I'm just going to refer back to the book. There's a couple of great stories that John Maxwell says here. And the questions we're asking is, what are your options concerning your methods in achieving your dreams? And once your plan is realized, don't be quick to revise your dream, but what options do you have to revise your plan? And
Right.
there's, what's that?
That's huge.
Yeah, so there's three great stories that John Maxwell gives in his book, and I'm just going to recap those for you in case you didn't get a chance to read it. But first of all, he talks about World War II General George Patton, and a great quote he gives from Patton says, "Successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but they do not try to create circumstances to fit plans." And that is so true. Not a single one of us could have created the circumstance that we're going through right now with this pandemic, and then tried to create plans for the circumstance. But you try to fit plans for when these things do come up, you're somewhat ready. And I know, for example, in my business, when we had accreditation, there's an accreditation process we can go through. They make you think through these absolutely crazy, stupid scenarios. Like one of them was like, what happens if there's a nuclear attack on Metro Detroit? What happens to your business? And my immediate thought is, well, we just cease operations. And that was it. That was the whole mental exercise for me. We're done. Business is closed. Game over. We all go home. But then when they started to break it down for this, they said, what happens if there was a small disaster in Metro Detroit? What do you do to keep your business going? And then all of a sudden you begin to put plans onto paper and you begin to talk through what these are like. So not that exact circumstance is ever going to happen, but I can tell you that having a surplus of masks and gloves for my company helped my employees when the circumstance came up. I can tell you that by converting all of my clients to ACH or credit card payments 3 years ago, eliminated any cash flow problems that a lot of other businesses are happening, that are seeing right now. And this is what he's talking about. We can't predict all the circumstances, but you can plan and create contingencies for when things do come up of what you might do. In the military, being someone who was in the Army, we would do wargaming all the time, right? You prepare for what the enemy might do, even though you can't predict exactly what they're going to do. And the more you plan it, and the more you talk about it, and the more you work through it, the better prepared you're going to be for when a circumstance arises, which is why in the military, they have everybody go out to the National Training Center called NTC, and they just do wargaming. And it's basically generals sitting in a room that are talking about, okay, you get to play the role of the enemy, we get to play the role of the US Army, you guys create a circumstance and we're going to plan for it and adjust to it. And then they would force those plans down. There would literally be an entire brigade from the United States Army that plays the enemy at NTC. And we would have our rifles, and they would have laser attachments on the end of them. And so we would literally be shooting our rifles and acting as if it was a wartime scenario, but we're using lasers. And we would go through scenarios of what the battle would be like, even though this situation would probably never happen in a real war. But the more you practice through what those scenarios may be, you're prepared for it, which is why Patton was so dead on when he said that successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but they don't try to create circumstances to fit plans. We have to be flexible. Then he talks about Peter Drucker, who was as we all know, the father of modern management, right? And Peter Drucker was quoted as saying, strategic planning is necessary precisely because we cannot forecast. Strategic planning does not deal with future decisions. It deals with the futurity of present decisions. Decisions exist only in the present. The question that faces the strategic decision maker is not what his organization should do tomorrow. It's what do we have to do today so we're ready for an uncertain tomorrow. That's powerful. Like none of us knows. Think about this right now. I mean, right now we're going through a pandemic, okay? And they've made plans to start reopening the economy to get people back to work, but there's a huge uncertainty. We don't know if this virus is going to reemerge. We don't know what's going to happen. We can have our best guesses based on science and data. We don't know what people are going to do. The government may say we have to wear masks, but we can't control what other people do if they don't wear masks, right? We can't control if people don't wash their hands. So are we making decisions today that are going to set us up for the future to prepare for a reemergence? I can tell you right now, my company, we are doing everything in our power today to be prepared for a reemergence of this virus come this fall. If it is seasonal, we're going to be ready. We're going to have the personal protective equipment. We're going to have the policies in place. But I bet you, there are businesses out there who are not making adjustments. There are businesses out there that are going to go back to business as usual, and they're going to totally blow the opportunity that's before them to get ready for the next pandemic. There are businesses right now who are working from home. They have all of their employees that have gone from working in a 6,000 square foot office space to working at home. And there are business leaders right now thinking, I can't wait to go back to business as normal. When I'm thinking to myself, why am I spending all of this rent money for a 6,000 square foot office space? We don't need it. We've been working from home successfully for 2 weeks now, and I'm not even bringing my employees back till the end of May. Why do I need to have a 6,000 square foot building? I'm telling you right now, there are business owners and people who are going to squander this opportunity to think critically. And finally, the last one, I love this, Sam Walton, founder of Walmart. He's been described as a visionary leader. And I just love what John Maxwell says, so I'm just going to read it to you verbatim. His dream was to provide value to customers so that it would improve their lives, but he was notorious for changing his plans and abandoning strategies that didn't work. Sam's son, Jim Walton, admitted, we all snickered at a lot of writers and professionals who said, Dad was a grand strategist who intuitively developed complex plans and implemented them with precision. And then he says, Dad thrived on change and no decision was ever sacred. That's got to be so important, guys, when we're working through this. There are always going to be more options available to us than we think. Remember the saying that I always quote, don't always believe everything you think, because it's not always true. There's always more options. There's always another way. So we have to stay flexible with our options. Tom, you want to go to number 4?
Yes. So number 4 is utilize all your resources. Utilize all your resources. How can you utilize your resources available? How can you utilize resources available to you to implement your plan? So that's the question for us. How can you utilize your resources, the things that you have right now? So let me start this out with this question. I usually ask my students, if you had all the resources in the world, what one thing would you do? Now, most of the time, these people will answer with things that they could be doing right now with the items that they have right now. But sometimes we think that it has to be on such a grand scale that we need all the pieces of the puzzle in order for us to do what we're supposed to do. So how can you utilize the resources you currently have to implement your plan?
This is always a stuck point for me. I told Tom and Bert, like, my issue is it's really hard for me to ask for help, even when I am stuck and I don't know what needs to be or what needs to happen next. So that's what I'm really working on, is like getting my, figuring out what my resources are and using them. So that's, a big learning curve for me right now.
It's awesome, Carrie. Now think about this. I think it was Elon Musk or even Ford or GM or whatever. They were figuring out how to use the car parts that they had to make ventilators.
Right.
Using the resources they already had to make something different. So Okay, so continue the question. How can you utilize the resources available to you to implement your plan?
This is Denise. I tried on Facebook to tease people because I have so much information on health, and I had a food business, so I have really healthy recipes, and I like to do things without dairy or gluten. And so I try to tease people, and I say, who would like the 4 best raw bars recipes? And then they, whatever. And so I'm trying to just push out a little bit of content to get people excited about my business again. So that's what I'm doing.
That's great.
Very good.
Yeah, so one of the resources, like Denise just said, everybody has access to Facebook and Twitter. I mean, social media is there, man. If you're trying to promote something, there's no reason why anybody can't promote something using social media, right? And if you don't know how to use the tools, guess what? Facebook has an entire team that's dedicated to offering free classes to show you how to use Facebook and to market yourself. And I'm telling you right now, there is no excuses today for businesses to not self-promote. If they're not doing it, they're not doing it. Why? Because either 1, they're lazy, or 2, they just don't believe in the dream enough to motivate them to do it. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's no excuse for businesses to not self-promote and develop themselves. And then the same is true for personal development. There's coaching, there's mentoring, there's training, there's free resources. Again, this class is being offered for free, right? And we have dedicated people who have been showing up, man. But there are people I talked to this week that are talking about their dreams and aspirations of what they want to do. And I invited them to this class, this free class on a Saturday, and they're not here. I don't feel bad for them.
I'm bummed that they don't show up.
Oh,
Same
sure.
type of people.
Sure.
I just discovered through learning this week that there's a website called Fiverr.
Yes.
And I love that website. I just figured out, oh, wow, they can do a lot of things that I need done that I don't know how to do. So
That's right.
And very inexpensive.
That's right. Yeah, the resources are unlimited, right? I mean, resources are truly unlimited out there if you simply, take the time to look for it. Again, talking about, Nate Rockwell, who we interviewed, and he's one of the people that we interviewed for our real life stories, right? Nate Rockwell, he wanted to start his own business, right? He wanted to start his own restaurant, and the resources were there. There was a funding group in Northeast Ohio that said, we are wanting to help struggling businesses recover. Come to us with a business plan and we will angel fund the dollar amount with you. And so Nate went to them with a plan and they loved it. And then they said, this is great. Now cut your budget in half. And then he went back. But the bottom line is the resource was there. He just chose not to look for it. Guys, this payroll protection program, you're going to see a lot of people right now in social media that are all angry. Like, oh, I can't believe they ran out of money, or I didn't know how to do this. So let me tell you something. They're saying stuff like only the big businesses are getting payroll protection loans and only those people with corporate attorneys and big time CPAs. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. Every business owner in the country knew that the payroll protection loan program was available back when they passed the legislation at the end of March. Every single business owner, unless they don't watch TV or they're Amish, or they simply don't talk to other business owners. That's a lie. That's an excuse that was made up. Every business owner knew it was available. I applied for it day one. I sat on hold for 8 hours with the SBA through 2 phone calls. I got online with another business owner at 4 o'clock in the morning twice to get the application submitted. And we had a relationship with our banker. I'm sorry, if you're a business owner and you don't know who your banker is, we have another saying for that. If there's a problem, I'm the problem and I can fix the problem. I'm sorry. There are people all upset saying, oh, only the big guys got the loans, whatever. It's not true. I didn't use an attorney. I didn't have to use my CPA. I had clarifying questions that I asked him, and I did it on my own. So for anyone who's out there saying that they didn't have a chance to get this, it's a lie. They're just making up excuses. They should have applied for it on day one. And if it was really that important, they would have gotten up at 4 in the morning to protect their employees and their business. If they didn't do it, they're making excuses for themselves. The resources are available. It's just how badly do you want it?
Right. Yep.
That's good stuff. So let me ask everyone this. What is available to you? What's available to you that you have available? We kind of talked about that with some of the things, but what else is available to you right now?
So here's what I just started doing yesterday, talking to my marketing person that I've had off and on over the years. I've got to kick another big marketing campaign in the butt, and I'm going after this COVID-19 thing. I've done LinkedIn. I've done networking groups my whole life. I've done mailings, pretty much to no avail. So what we're going to do now is redesign the website. And I guess search engine optimization is not a good word anymore. There's a newer word, but we're going to do that. So when people Google or search for anything in the telecommunications VoIP industry, we're going to pop right up there on the top, and not under the ad thing where the paid Google, because I've done that too. Spend $500 a month for Google words and get nothing. So I think it's a search engine thing is what we decided on yesterday, and so we're working on redoing everything to remarket, rebrand.
That's great.
Carrie alluded to this earlier, but this other question, who can help you? So, you know, a lot of times companies will ask you to do referrals for them. And so what they'll do is they have, I've seen this list before, and it has lists of attorneys, of dentists, of soccer moms, of, you know, baseball players or whatever. So when you hear those trigger words, attorneys or whatever the case may be, you start to think of those that you know that could be a help or that you could refer the business to. So in this case, who do you know? Begin to create that mental list. You know, who do I know that's a you know, an attorney or a business expert or whatever the case may be, and start going down that list and see what jars your mind.
Yep.
To begin to find out who can help you, because chances are we have folks in our sphere of influence that can help us, or we know a person that knows a person.
That's right.
Right. One thing that we're challenged in the Real Leadership Company to ask is, who do you know? And maybe we're asking this question to you guys today. Who do you know that we should know?
Right.
Right. And so you want to connect with people and say, who do you know that I should know? And again, when you share that, what your why is, right? Simon Sinek was sharing yesterday about this lady that said, I want to write a screenplay. He goes, well, that's awesome. What about? She goes, I don't want to tell you because you might steal it. And he says, still to this day, I don't know what she was going to share. But had she had shared, I might have been able to say, oh, well, I know the perfect person that you need to talk to, because it's right in line with what you're passionate about. So the same thing with us. What is your why, and who can we have to help?
I have a comment about that. I think that sometimes testimonials, and Keith, I don't know your business that well, but I've often asked people that I've health coached who've been successful to write me a testimonial, and it really has some credibility, even though the person's not sitting there in front of you and they're not your friend, but they see it's a visual and it's a piece of information that can help them make a decision to go with you. So I use the testimonials a lot. And if I have a health coaching session, I read a couple before I even start my meeting. So it can be very powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes, the Google reviews, I believe, are huge. Bert did a great write-up, and I'm going to ask him later on to put it on Google reviews. And a couple other customers, because when you're searching something, like you said, Denise, you get all these reviews, and you look over, and I think that's going to be a real killer.
Yep.
So
If you're using killer in a positive way, right?
Yes, killer in a positive way.
Yeah.
So real quick, let's just take another minute and let me ask everyone here, who is one person that can help you achieve your dream?
For me, it's my husband. He's really good at the SEO stuff. He's built a YouTube company. Not a company, but he does a YouTube channel. And he's really good at that stuff. So I need to tap into his skills more.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Carrie. Who else?
My ex-boss, who I have a really good relationship with, is one of the few CPAs in my company, and so I'm going to contact her.
That's great.
Cool.
I would say my friend Carrie, she is really good at asking me difficult questions and calling me on my, we'll say BS, in my thinking.
Baloney
Yeah.
sandwiches.
I need that in my life periodically. Somebody to shake my brain and go, yeah, you need to rethink that because you're deceiving yourself basically.
That's good. That's good.
I could hire I had a college student who's in Infometrics design my website, and she did a great job, and it's deactivated right now, but I'm going to reactivate it, and I probably can hire her for a very reasonable price to update it and make it look a little bit better. So she can help me, I'm sure.
That's great.
I've got two. I've got Tom is helping you with coaching, and my marketing person, Cindy. It's going to be a good killer, Dave.
That's awesome. Good stuff.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and take it, Bert.
So I don't want to, I'll be honest with you guys. I think we're going to continue this chapter next week. We're going to finish 5 and 6 next week because this has been really good, and I don't want to rush through it because there's really good questions that are coming up. And actually, the exercise that we've given you guys to do this week is going to really help you better see what the non-essentials are in your life and what some of the challenges are. Okay, so that's number 5 and number 6 of this chapter. So we're going to pick up there next week with chapter 5 and chapter 6, and then we're going to start talking about the people question next week as well. But next week is really going to be a discussion based upon that sheet. So once again, I just want to show you guys the sheet that we're going to have you guys use. This is the Put Your Dream to the Test weekly dream activity tracker. And we want you every day this week. So either you can save this on your computer and you can fill it out, you can print it and write on it. But here's the deal. Next week, bring this. And if you miss a day, go ahead and beat yourself up over it. That's fine. We're not going to beat you up, but we still want you to bring this next week. And Tom and I are going to be doing this too, because we also have dreams that we're working on, and we want you guys to fill this out. It's about a 5-minute activity per day of recapping what you did, but more importantly, you want to put on there that you did something, which tells us then that you're actually making it a point to work on your dream, which is awesome. A couple other things that I want to share with you guys real quick, though, is also just our website and other things we have coming up and going on. If you go to our website, you can see the Real Leadership Company, which is right there. There are some events that are coming up. So obviously this is where the Put Your Dream to the Test thing is, but also the next one coming up that Tom is doing is called Leading Through Crisis, How to Turn Adversity into an Advantage. And you actually, Tom, what is it? About a 15-minute video from John Maxwell. Is that correct? That's in this one? Is that right, Tom?
Yes, it varies in minutes, but 6, 7, 15 minutes, somewhere around there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. So we want to encourage you guys to, again, this is free. This is on Thursday nights. It goes from 7 to 8:30 p.m. What's awesome about this, guys, we want to encourage you guys to come, but we are obviously still building our content for our Unstuck University on our website. And again, this is what the website looks like. So you scroll down here, you can see there's the virtual masterminds that we're doing, and then Unstuck University is there. And if you go to Unstuck University, we're still building this out. You can see the courses we're doing for this Mastermind series are right there, as well as some real life stories, Put Your Dream to the Test. We have 2 awesome interviews on here right now with Nate Rockwell and John Martineau. I encourage you guys to do that. And Tom and I are actually doing another interview today with a gentleman named Mike Miotis. He's from Erie, Pennsylvania, and we were focusing on the restaurant industry right now. He's going to talk about how he's developed his restaurant, which used to be a dive bar, which has turned into an award-winning chicken wing restaurant, privately owned in Erie, Pennsylvania. He's going to be sharing his story, and of course, the Leading Through Crisis with John Maxwell stuff is going to be on here as well. Plus, the resources and forms. The weekly dream activity tracker we talked about is right here. You can click download, and that's where you can get that information. And finally, guys, don't forget, Tom and I are available as well for individual one-on-one coaching. Obviously, this is something that we do. We are certified coaches through the John Maxwell system. So if you need some help with that, let us know. We're more than happy to engage you guys with that too. But having said that, are there any final comments this week that you guys would like to share? Maybe what you've been experiencing, how this has been benefiting you at all? Any other feedback before we wrap up this week's session?
I just think this is getting better and better every week. We're going deeper, and it's becoming a real serious thing here.
That's good.
I don't know if that's the right word, but
no, that's good though, Keith. That's the intention. You're right. I mean, the first 2 weeks we're talking more about dreaming, but now it's getting into the nuts and bolts of this thing. Right. I mean,
right.
Now, I mean, we're going to finish talking about challenges that we have, and the next week we're talking about people, because you cannot achieve dreams by yourself. And so we're going to start talking about the people you need to surround yourself with as well. So this is good. Absolutely.
I like the accountability portion, which is the tracker is going to be really great this week.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Anybody else?
I hate accountability, but it's good for me.
Awesome. Yeah, and guys, hey, don't forget too, please consider, if this has been beneficial to you, obviously you can find us on Google as well and on Facebook. So we want to encourage you guys, what Keith was talking about. Feel free to leave us a review. If this has been good for you, review us on Facebook, review us on Google, because we are also trying to build up this business as well. Obviously, Tom and I were passionate about this. We love doing this. I did a great exercise this past Wednesday with my staff using Zoom, and I used a lot of the John Maxwell principles for my team. And every time I use these principles and we do object lessons with them, man, it's crazy. I literally had people clapping for me on my own staff this past week for the motivationals, which is great because they needed that. But we encourage you guys to leave us reviews and definitely spread the word about what we're doing here at Real Leadership Company. We would appreciate that too. Okay. Well, guys, I want to thank you on behalf of Tom and just for continuing to come out and show up. Thank you for dreaming with us. Thank you for trusting us to share and be vulnerable with. We appreciate that. And thank you for helping us to build our database or our resources on our website. We do appreciate that. So we will see you guys next Thursday for Tom's Mastermind class, Leading Through Adversity, 7 to 8:30, and then next Saturday for Putting Your Dream to the Test, where we'll finish up Chapter 5. You guys all have an awesome week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.